Hey, what's up, everybody? So I know that with AI, vibe coding, there's been a lot of people that are trying to build startups and build products to sell online and hopes to get acquired or build like a monthly revenue stream or another revenue stream. So I'm going to talk about an experience I had working in a startup that ultimately failed and some of the lessons that I learned from that, and hopefully that you can learn from that, learn from them too. So hopefully you don't make the same mistakes and run into the same issues that I ran into a few years ago, because I think they still most likely apply, no matter what kind of product you're building. The one that I worked on was very technical. It involved a lot of cybersecurity. Well, it was a cybersecurity startup, and it ultimately failed. And I don't deem it a failure because I learned a lot from it. It definitely tested my knowledge and made me learn a lot about cybersecurity and how to create an application from scratch, especially one that is very data intensive. So I'm just going to talk about those lessons and hopefully y'all don't make the same mistakes that I did. All right, so before I go too deep into the lessons, I just want to talk a little bit about what exactly the startup was. So essentially, what we built was a attack surface management tool, and I feel like it's important to describe the product that we were trying to build and launch off the ground, just because um, with security being more and more important, especially with outsourcing like a lot of coding tasks to AI, there might be a lot of growth opportunity for startups. So I just want to talk about that, what exactly we built. So it essentially followed this life cycle you see here. So it discovered like any kind of cloud assets, or what we called was public facing, outward facing. So you can think of your infrastructure. It's basically like the front doors with whatever is like open to the public, and then discover those, make sure that they're all kept in inventory, and then we would run like vulnerability scans, any kind of penetration scans eventually, and then from those results, be able to come up with how to mitigate them, how to fix any vulnerabilities, and all this stuff was being automated. But we had a very technical understanding of that life cycle, and I think that kind of led us into the first problem I'm going to talk about. So the first big issue that I learned, now reflecting back on it, is that we didn't stay lean enough. And basically, what that means is that we didn't set the minimum viable product, or what's often referred to as the MVP. I feel like this could be a very easy pitfall to fall into, especially with AI being able to program so fast. You might want to wait. Let's wait until, you might say, okay, let's just wait until this feature is delivered. And then once that gets built, you're like, okay, well, actually, we probably need to add this one. I would recommend shipping as soon as possible and start marketing your features as soon as possible. As soon as you have something that you feel is relatively useful for anybody to use, start advertising it immediately. Don't wait, and don't over engineer the MVP. It's okay if it's a little bit slow. It's okay if it isn't the most beautiful UI, or it doesn't look like completely great. You need to get that feedback from the user. You need to get that feedback from the people that you're trying to sell it to. Because I'll go into that in a little bit after this first principle of why. But make sure you're staying lean, and not only from an engineering perspective, but also um, any kind of finance. Try to find the cheapest way to host your MVP. Try to find the cheapest way to build your product, whether that mean using free tiers of APIs or free tiers of any kind of uh, any kind of database solutions, or hosting your own, or doing any of that stuff. Like, do it as cheap as possible, because you don't know how long it's going to be until you actually make any revenue from it. If you already have people that are interested and you have a community that you're willing to give feedback on, I feel like that's a great advantage. But that's very difficult, especially if you're working on something by yourself or in a small team, as in the case of us. So stay lean. Make sure you fail. Make sure you just ship and get feedback, because it's a lot easier to build a product when you have like the people you're trying to sell to. Well, I imagine I've actually, unfortunately, have this is the part where I failed, but I imagine that it's very easy to define and build features that people want to pay for if the people that are paying are telling you what they want rather than you thinking what they want. So stay lean. The next thing I'm going to talk about is just not understanding the landscape or where your product fits in the current market. So you need to understand like what other solutions are doing exactly what you do, and it's very hard to compete with companies that have licensing agreements already. So this is a web page that has a lot of the external attack surface management platforms. So a big one that, you know, is Microsoft Defender. I mean, that's very hard to compete with if companies that are using already have the Microsoft suite. And then there's also, Halo Security, there's CrowdStrike, Psycognito. There's a few of these ones that have popped up over the years. Mandiant, which was bought out by Google after we started building. But these are big names. These are companies that have been in the cybersecurity space for a long time, and having a startup that competes directly with those companies is very difficult. And so what we should have done is we probably should have done exactly more research into what we could have offered that these companies didn't, whether that be cheaper pricing, different features, or anything like that. And so, yeah, just make sure that whenever you're building something, understand what exactly it is you're up against, and don't forget this step. I know that, especially for me, right? I'm the one who's let's just build. We'll figure all that stuff out later, but this is very important to do, and it's a step that I missed, and hopefully you don't as well. If you're watching this, I imagine you're trying to build a startup or thinking about launching some kind of product, but I know this is all common stuff, but again, it is very important. So. All right, so I think this one is the most important, especially if you're building by yourself or you're trying to ship something that you don't really have like a full understanding of, but you just have like an idea of this would be good. It's shipping something that you would want to use, I should say, instead of what the actual market wants to use. So like for us, right, we had a very technical understanding of cybersecurity. Like our founder was in cybersecurity for many, many years and had frustrations with tools and all this kind of stuff. And so the roadmap that we had was very technical. But when you go to sell these things, you're selling it to people that may not be technical. Or if you get that far, you eventually start talking to like the technical side of things. But we focus on a lot of features that were nice and they worked really well, and we saw like really good results from them. But it was more so of like a tool that we thought, or that we thought would be beneficial, not what other people thought was going to be used. So going back to my previous point is that, you have to get feedback from who you're trying to sell to as soon as possible before you waste like a lot of time and capital trying to build something that ultimately nobody wants to use. And it could be like a really good solution. It could be technically sound. It could be the most, efficient, the best coding practices, perfect design systems, all that kind of stuff. If nobody wants to buy it, then ultimately it's not good. So it's it might be good software, but it's not a good product if nobody wants to buy it. So don't build something that you would find useful. Make sure you're building something that the market finds useful. All right, and lastly, the biggest issue is time. If you're building by yourself, and especially if you're doing it as like a side project or a side gig, or you don't have time to dedicate like a full work week to building a startup, especially when you're working with other people that also have other obligations, work obligations, family obligations, just not having enough time to work on things. And I think if you're young and you have a lot of time to work on building, then use it. Because as you get, deeper into your career, you get more important. You have to get on more meetings. You don't have enough like free time in the evenings and stuff like that. It definitely gets difficult. So the biggest limiting factor in building is definitely the time. So make sure you're using good time management skills. And again, that's why it's so important to prioritize what features you're building, because everything takes time. And if you're spending time building the wrong thing, then ultimately you'll end up how I ended up. And that is with a pretty good solution that never got sold and never got used. So yeah, that wraps up just about everything that I've learned. I think I'm grateful for the experience. I think we built a pretty cool product. It just unfortunately didn't go the way that we wanted it to go. But I definitely learned a lot, and it's been beneficial for my career. So I wouldn't deem it a quote-unquote failure like the title of the video says, but I'm eventually going to try again. Hopefully go back into it with a lot of the lessons that I've learned. And I just thought it was going to be a cool video to talk about, especially with a lot of people trying to ship stuff, especially with nowadays the coding capabilities of AI basically make it feel like it's limitless. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Some of the things that you may agree with, disagree with, some of the things that you've done to find success in selling products online or shipping startup software. So I appreciate y'all watching this video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and see y'all on the next one.